Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Savio Rodrigues has written an excellent article in Goa Chronicle about the influence of deep state in India. We're going to have a conversation, kind of a hangout today. I'll do a few slides. He'll do a few slides, but you get the idea about the reach and the depth to which deep state has penetrated in Indian polity. So let's now welcome Savio Rodrigues. Savio, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. How are you?
Thank you, Sree. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. And thank you for liking the article. There's been a lot of investigation, a lot of data put across. People of India need to understand how deep state has penetrated our country and how cautious we should be when, addressing the issue or dealing with the issue. But I'll let you start off with what you have in mind.
Thank you so much. Let's get the slide deck going, please. Just when you think that all the links between Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, and the Gandhi family with Soros have been unearthed, comes news that there are more links. This is a surprising observation that we got. In fact, to finish what Savio said, Savio, I'm going to have you back to talk about your excellent article about Manipur. The amount of data and depth that you have provided in that article is out of the world, bro. So viewers, we will come back during the week, next couple of days about that one also. Please like this video. This is something that you are not going to get even after hours of research, because it's actually extracting the whole substance of several decades of work that has been put in by deep state. So let's jump in. Next one, please. So BJP is now batting on the front foot in the parliament, especially people like Nishikant Dubey and Samvit Swaraj and a few others, Sudhanshu Trivedi. Everybody is now taking Congress head on, especially in connection with their links to Soros. And through Soros, we can say deep state. Soros is just a face of a much bigger hidden deep state. We all know that. Now, what is the new thing? There is a George Soros funded organization called Forum of Democratic Leaders in Asia Pacific, FDLAP, which purportedly supported Kashmir's independence. Now, what has happened is the BJP has claimed that Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, of which Sonia Gandhi is the chairperson, partnered with the Soros Foundation, indicating foreign influence in Indian political affairs. The one thing, this is the kryptonite for the Gandhi family. The moment you talk about Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, the moment you talk about the 2008 CCP agreement, the moment you talk about National Herald, these guys just go into silent mode, trying to go skelter here, there, somehow trying to hide themselves. So that is something that they have figured out now. BJP is coming out. It's good to see them on the front foot. But let's see what the Congress is going to do, because they are going to lash out. Now, the other thing is, so that is Sonia Gandhi's thing, where she was a member of this FDLAP, and we all know about 𝗏𝐶𝐶RP report, where the report will come sometime like 3 a.m. India time, and by 4 a.m. Rahul Gandhi is tweeting about it. Come on now, the guy probably didn't even come home from his partying, and he's tweeting it. Yeah, I'm having difficulty believing that somebody can be so proactive. What it means is that this is a planned thing, as like a toolkit. This is also happening, and he has been warned off, saying, or flagged off, saying that okay, this is coming out, do retweet it, or maybe somebody in his team is doing it. Whatever it is, the point here is every time there is a new session of parliament, these guys will be ready with a new issue and try to stop the parliament from functioning, to try and cock a snook at the BJP government, that we can stop you in any which way we can. All that is fine and dandy, but this time, this newfound aggression is good to see. But let's see what else. Can you go to the next one, please? Now, first time I'm seeing US go on the defensive. The United States, of which I am a citizen, and I'm a very proud citizen of, and I don't approve of the policy used by the Department of State. But whatever it is, this is a democracy. We're all free to have our own opinions. The first time I see that the US is on the back foot. They said that no, this is not true. How is it not true? I mean, day in and day out, you are showing your intentions. And again, as far as Adani thing is concerned, I have been very clear. I am looking at the data and saying something. Please don't, take that as I am pro Adani or anti Adani. I'm not. I've also told people, look, it is difficult to do business honestly in India because there are so many contradicting rules and regulations that you end up breaking something or the other. You just have to, pay the fine and move on. And it's true of even American companies in America. This is how it is. So just leave it at that. So question is, why is the United States government defending media organizations? Media has its own charter, it's got its own funding. Why should it have to go and fund or defend 𝗤𝗂𝘅? That's one question. I'm hoping, Savio, you can answer this question also when I hand over the thing to you. So 𝗤𝗂𝘅, why should the US feel the need to defend them? That's one question for you. Next one, please. Now we know about this bribes of 250 million being offered. Some new data is coming out on this also. And as soon as that data is confirmed, so far Adani hasn't rebutted that. So I'm waiting to see what Adani's group is going to rebut with the data that has come out recently about how they were still trying to use the 𝗣𝚗𝚗 to set the rates and things like that. I'm just waiting to see how that goes. Now, whether Adani is a tool to attack Modi with, I leave it to the users. It could be Ambani also. Ambani used to be attacked too. And now he's just like, okay, now I'm going into the low profile mode, you take over. Or maybe Adani made a tactical error in raising funds in the US. I don't know. I'm hoping that this indictment will throw up all these things. So what exactly went wrong? So I leave it at this. This is my part of the presentation. And please feel free to answer on that 𝗤𝗂𝘅. Why should US feel that it needs to defend 𝗤𝗂𝘅? If it is indeed a independent media, why do they have to defend them?
Well, to understand why the US government has come out to defend the 𝗤𝗂𝘅 and to defend the allegations leveled by the Indian government against the deep state in the US, you need to understand what is the deep state and what is the US deep state, to be more precise. So let us go to that slide number 4, which is the influence of the US deep state in India extends beyond economic and military domains. Let's get that clear first. It also moves into the realm of culture, media, and civil society. Now, if you look at organizations, US-based organizations like Carnegie Endowment and Brookings Institutions, they have published reports shaping India's socio-political narratives, often reflecting US strategic goals. If you read those articles that come out or reports that come out. Now, India's democracy, downgraded by organizations like Freedom House in 2023, was viewed as a political maneuver tied to the trade and policy leverage that was there. So you have the US deep state not only working on military, not only working on the economic aspect. What they're really working on is trying to influence socio-political intent of India to bring in their socio-political intent into India. And the US deep state works with influencing influencers, whether they're political influencers, whether they're academic influencers, whether they are social influencers. These are the playgrounds or the playbook that they work with. Now, you look at US-funded NGOs like Ford Foundation and Open Society Foundation. They have already faced scrutiny in India. India has banned 69 NGOs, including Greenpeace India, citing national security as a threat tied to US-linked interest in energy projects. Right? Then you go forward and Edward Snowden made a very important revelation when he came out. He actually spoke about that fact in 2013, where top NSA surveillance target, India was one of them. Why is India a top surveillance target? Let's go into more detail. To direct election meddling, which has yet been unproven, US officials have historically supported Indian leaders aligning with American policies. Look at the history, it's there for you to see. Then you have cultural influences to Hollywood, Fulbright scholarship, Ivy League collaboration, shapes Indian public opinion and leadership perspective. Let me give you an example to this. So there was a case in which a lawyer based from the Yale University, an Indian student, was actually picked up by an IT company, a very prominent IT company. Her focus was law. and she was made to work in the algorithms department to try and ensure that the algorithms that they were using or they were manipulating in an IT company were actually not pro Modi government. That is the kind of influence they work with. So I'm talking about just a normal Yale law student who's picked up, put into internship in an IT company, is put into policy, and in policy she's looking and studying the algorithms, and she's supposed to work on the algorithms, help the people to decide on what needs to be pro Modi and anti Modi using the legal available laws to them or the manipulations that they can work on. Now, when you look at these kind of things, you look at YouTube, you look at Instagram, you look at Twitter to a certain extent, though now with Elon Musk, there is a sense of balance. Prior to that, there was not. YouTube today, if you were to put out a video that is pro India, showcasing the atrocities that are happening to Hindus, you have so many of the right wing videos that have been banned. Why? Because there is a certain amount of influence that certain tech based companies, part of the US deep state, want to control the narrative. Now, data linked to US, now I'll tell you why that happens. Data like US-India trade hit 191 billion in 2023, with US becoming India's largest trading partner. That's point number one. Over 1,000 US companies operate in India, creating millions of jobs, while India exports 85 billion in services to the US in 2022, and it's much more. It's gone up in 2023, and I'm pretty sure it's gone up in 2024 as well. Now, why does the US deep state look at India so intently? It's very simple. They see India as a vassal state of the imperial US deep state controllers. There is a large market, there is a lot of disposable income, and there is a very easy, influential audience for them to control the game. Their intent, the US deep state intent, is always, has been, and will be business and economics. George Soros, who's just one of the players and one of the most influential players, is nothing but an economic terrorist. What do you mean by an economic terrorist? An economic terrorist's intent is only to ensure that economic terrorism helps him gain out of the economic terrorism that he does. And that is what George Soros is. That is George Soros's history. That is George Soros's track record. Either he's playing with the stock markets, or he's playing with the currency markets, or he's investing into eradicating nationalism, which is what he said at Davos. He further repeated it in 2023 as well. That is how George Soros operates. The point is what? The US deep state is working and has been working in India, not now. It has been working for decades in India. The only problem it is facing now is that it's finding a resilient Indian government and an even more resilient people of India who are understanding the games of the US deep state. And therefore, it is calling it out. Never before in the history of India have you seen media or people or political leaders coming out and talking about the US deep state. Why are they doing it? Because that's a reality. Whether Adani's case has merit or not is for the Department of Justice to decide. But more importantly, why do we look at organizations like 𝗤𝚑𝐶RP? There is a clear expose that's come out from the French press, which spoke about the US government funding 50% of the investments into the 𝗤𝚑𝐶RP work. And Samantha Powers, who is a very influential part of the US deep state mechanism, very categorically stated that 𝗤𝚑𝐶RP is a partner. Now, I'll tell you something which people have, the 𝗤𝚑𝐶RP during the COVID crisis attacked the vaccine vehemently. Their report attacked the vaccine, and leaders like Shashi Tharoor at that point of time actually came out and supported AstraZeneca but did not support the 𝗒𝗏𝗏 and raised questions around the 𝗒𝗏𝗏. The fact was, what were they targeting even then? They were targeting an Indian company vaccine, which was not only utilized in India, but was utilized in other parts of the world as well and was successful. If you go by the AstraZeneca's recent confession, you will realize that they have admitted that there were questions around the vaccine that they gave to people at that point of time. You don't have any such problem with 𝗒𝗏𝗏. So why did 𝗤𝐶CRP target the 𝗒𝗏𝗏? Again, to prove and to break down what is actually India's stepping stone in the pharmaceutical segment globally. That is what the intent is. The same intent is reflected in what's happening with Adani. Whether Adani is right or wrong is for the courts to judge. But what they are targeting really is India's growth, and Adani's growth is parallel to the intent that some aspects of this government want, which is to thwart China and US hegemony in the global space. US wants to make India its vassal state because US finds that India is easily controllable to defeat China's agenda against the US. If you go by recently, this was about 3 days ago, there was a discussion that happened in the US where they were taking a decision to invest heavily on technology to prepare for a world war with China. So the threat that they feel from China is why India is required to the US deep state so that they can put the gun on India's shoulder and shoot China. So how do they target India? They target India by creating problems in Pakistan. They target India by creating problems in Bangladesh. What is their intent? Their intent is to have a weak government that toes the line of US and is contrary to or is fighting with China or is in some shadow way connected to China in the entire geopolitical game that they have. So when they target Bangladesh, they put in Muhammad Yunus, a Nobel Peace Laureate, who is nothing but a CIA puppet. We all know that CIA was behind the coup. We all know that National Endowment for Democracy was the overt agency working on that coup. And today we know what is happening. We know that Hindus are being targeted in Bangladesh. Why are they being targeted in Bangladesh? They are being targeted so that the Hindus in India can rise up and have differences with Narendra Modi, who they see to be leading a Hindu majority government and a Hindu majority nation. So they want to divide the Hindus to say that Modi isn't doing much for the Bangladeshis who are also Hindus. Now, these are some of the strategies that they're going to be using. They're going to be using various different organizations. They have to divide India on the caste and the creed line. We have seen creed being utilized quite often. We are going to see caste flaring up in a very large way that you will see in the month ahead. But what you will see is people coming out in the name of democracy, challenging the democracy that India has to offer them. And these are the people who will get funded, whether they are media companies, whether they are social influencers, whether they are political influencers. If you look at their track record, you will see that there is US-based funding behind it, either directly or indirectly. And that is why those 69 NGOs were kept away by the Indian government when we realized the kind of investments that are coming in. You have organizations like Amnesty International, which is a complete US deep state asset. What does it do? It cannot take money into its accounts, so it finds a way to find events to get money into its utilization. Similarly, many of these organizations like Open Society Foundation have been funding individuals, have been funding companies, have been funding social influencers to spread the narrative that democracy in India is in danger. Why? Because they want nothing but economic control. Whether it's Twitter. Have you ever seen the probability of an Indian social media platform taking off in India, when most of the tech brains in the US are Indian tech brains? Why is it that it's difficult for India to have a very robust social media platform, whereas China is able to have a robust search engine as well as social media platforms? Because the US deep state will never allow for a social media platform to take off in India. We have to be extremely careful. Let me give you a classic example. Bill Gates was under questions, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was under question way back in 2017, when there was this really, horrific experiments that were conducted on women in Hyderabad. All right. You have Bill Gates recently saying that India is a laboratory for experiments. Yet, Bill Gates and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has suddenly, over the last couple of years, found favor in India. So the US deep state, we've got to be extremely careful about them. The investments coming in, the reason for the investments coming in, and that is why they will target an Adani, they will target an Ambani, mostly Adani, primarily because Adani's main focuses has been thwarting American and Chinese influences in other countries and establishing India's influences in those areas. Israel, for example. And if you go and see in the Haifa port, Adani was very instrumental, took it away from China hold, and Adani went in. Similarly, in Sri Lanka, you had Adani trying to play a major role. So Adani is seen as a part of the Modi establishment and as part of Modi's soft power, and therefore they will be targeted. Whether there is merit or not is a matter of the court and the further investigation. But is the US deep state real? It is as real as it gets, and it wants India to be its vassal state. I'm saying this over and over again. It is not the problem that they have with India, Sree. It is India rising as Bharat that they have a huge issue with. Because a unified Bharat is dangerous for the imperial colonial mindset that they still continue to have.
Very true. Thank you so much, Savio. And we have a few questions from our viewers. We can take those up now and then we can wrap this up. Thank you, Sushila M, for your super sticker. Ashok Hugar wants to know how much anti-nationals in politics. Why government is not taking action? If common man done this, he was in jail. Some anti-national media also doing anti-national activities.
So, how do I explain this? The first step towards dealing with foreign funding on influencing was when the FCRA rules were changed in order to keep a track of foreign funding coming into the country. Now, everything that the government has to do has to follow a legal process, and that's what has been put in place. If you look at the number of NGOs that existed prior to 2014 vis-a-vis the NGOs existing now, you will realize that the Indian government has strategically targeted those NGOs that were actually working to anti-national agendas. Yes, there are few that are still there, and the government is dealing with it. With regards to the politicians, well, they have to be dealt with in a political manner, and therefore it is important to make the people of India aware of the nuances and the plans of the anti-national brigade as well as the US deep state in India.
Next one, please. Krishnamurti Hunagund wants to know, Sonia's name has surfaced in oil for food scams as well as many others. The whole family is rotten. This time it should be taken to its logical conclusion for the sake of the country.
Krishnamurti, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of skeletons in the Vadra Congress family. But, one of the main things, it's something I've tried to wrap my head around it, and I'm going to try and make an explanation out of it. You may agree with me or not. But the only way to defeat a political legacy that existed for a very long time is when the power of the people defeats them in electoral politics. And that is when there is a much bigger realization of the damage that they have been doing to this country over the last several decades. Therefore, it is important for people like me, Sree, and others who are concerned citizens to educate the people on what is the reality of the family, like the Gandhis, as well as other political leaders who work with organizations that do not have the interest of India at heart.
Next one, please. Sandeep Panikal wants to know, if Trump cleans up leftist Soros-leaning teaching staff from US universities, which includes many Indians, won't there be a risk of those thugs coming back and ending up in Indian universities?
Well, that's the risk you're going to face, but that's a bridge I think we'll cross once we get there, because I really can't predict what's going to happen.
Nobody is going to come back to India, Savio, especially when they know that the going is not going to be easy. They will wait for 4 years. They'll think that, okay, after 4 years, I'll get my chance again. There'll be a democratic regime in place. We will do what? This is how 4 years will be spent. After that, if Republicans come back, then that's a different game. Let's wait and see. S. Sharma wants to know very vital information. Ayerji, namaste from London. What can a non-anti-Hindu or a non-anti-Indian do?
Inform. You see the whole idea.
Share among your groups.
I've realized this. That, when there was this time when Indira Gandhi was accused of a crime, and the cop went to arrest her. And then there's a story behind it. And when she came out after being handcuffed, all she did was raise her hand, and there was that picture that went all over the media, and that ensured that she got sympathy. The power of sympathy in Indian politics is very high, to especially people who come from dynastic politics. Therefore, information about the truth about what their agenda is, truth about what any politician, it doesn't need to be the Congress at all, but any politician that walks the path of corruption, that walks the path of anti-national actions, must be brought to the notice of the people, because the people then decide whether they can have that confidence electorally in those people or those political parties.
Sharmaji, to add to what Savio said, one of the things that you can do, and this is for all NRIs, I won't say everyone, but most of us, our image of India is frozen on the day we left India for foreign shores. And when we go back to India, we recap from that point. We forget sometimes to see the amount of changes, developments that has taken place in India. One thing we will realize is that our relatives don't have as much time as they used to before. That's first shock. But many other things have changed. So educating people, making sure they understand that this is how this is being headed now. This is the direction that people want India to take, and India is pushing back. I mean, I would say it was very bold on part of the Modi government to stand up to US and then buy Russian oil in rupees. That was a big moment changer, because what ended up happening after 2-3 months is the same Western countries were buying it through India, saying that, oh, we're not getting it from Russia, we're getting it from India. Although it was their crude that was bought and sent to India for refining and then sent back to them in a refined form in 29-30 days. So what I'm trying to say, this takes a lot of gall, and that's what deep state is afraid. And you saw how Mahathir Mohamad was put in his place when India just abruptly stopped importing palm oil from Malaysia. The guy lost his job. See, the thing here is they see under Modi, I criticize them also, but I also have to appreciate where credit is due. Modi acts. He won't say a word, and an act is very decisive. I'm sure something like that is going to happen in Bangladesh very soon. We'll just wait and see. Just wanted to say that out there. But the most important thing is, wherever things come up about India, show this point of view also. So let people decide afterwards what is right and what is wrong for themselves. Next one. Sandeep Panikal, if Trump cleans, I think we have done this one. Next one.
Yes.
Neta Mafia wants to know if Trump cleans up leftist Soros leaning, again the same thing. Next
Yes.
one. Thank you, Sunny Reddy. Sunil B wants to know, hello Savio, is the deep state really has its origins back in churches, elusive Illuminati group?
Well, let's look at it this way, because I personally believe that economics is what drives the US deep state or deep state in any other part of the world. Yes, there are theories that they do exist, secret societies and Illuminati groups that want to control the world, and they might be true as well. What is important is to understand where this real game is coming from. You have to understand that since India was a territory of foreign powers for 200 years, they have believed and they have ingrained themselves to believe that India continues to remain to be a vassal state of theirs. And that is what we are fighting. They don't have a problem with India before 2014. What they have a problem with India is India rising as Bharat now. Because let's look at what Soros himself is saying. George Soros is fighting nationalism. Why would anyone want to fight nationalism unless you want to promote anarchy? Because nationalism promotes unification of thought under a common ideology, or a common focus, or a common mission for a country. But anarchy divides and creates chaos, and George Soros thrives in chaos. The US deep state needs chaos. Please look at the wars that are currently going on in the world, and you would see that it is almost the top 5 American companies who are part of the US deep state, who, whether it's in the Israel war with Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran, or the Russia-Ukraine war, it is these companies who are minting money in crores and crores of rupees on a daily basis. In fact, that is the real reality of the geopolitical situation right now. Geopolitical situation is about conflict. Conflict is about money that goes to companies that profit or profiteer out of war. And that is the US deep state. So whether it's technology, whether it's arms and ammunition, whether it's even food to a certain extent, that is what they control. And that is what they want.
And I think that brings us to a close of today's program. Thank you so much, Savio. Viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Savio will come back to talk about Manipur drug situation in just a couple of days. I'll get in touch with you offline, and we will see you again very soon. Namaskar.
Namaskar. God bless.